Hello and welcome to Talk Wildlife, and what is actually a sort of one-off special video. It came to light recently. I was sent a petition, a link to a petition, and it came to light that for all of the talk that has been over the past couple of weeks following David Attenborough's extinction programme about extinction and the need to look after wildlife and the need to look after the wildlife's habitats, it seems that somebody wants to now go and build on what would essentially be classed as prime habitat. It's Swanscombe Marshes. It's in Kent. And to counter that, hopefully, we have Buglife is doing a campaign. It's running a petition. The idea of this video is to make you aware of what that petition's about, and hopefully you'll then go and sign it, because the last thing we need, as will become apparent, is another Disney type entertainment area in place of prime habitat for wildlife. So what I'd like to do first of all is I'm going to introduce Paul Hetherington. We've got that right? Hetherington. Yep. Yeah, Paul is the Director of Fundraising and Communications at Buglife. He is responsible for the petition, which is on 38 degrees. I will put a link to it underneath the video. So first of all, hi Paul, welcome.
It's great to talk to you and really good to be talking to the audience who's going to watch this.
So great. Well, what I think we should start off doing is, can you just put it into context? So first of all, where is Swanscombe Marshes? And what's the habitat like?
Swanscombe Marshes is in the Thames Gateway. It's on the Kent side of the River Thames, quite near Dartford. It's majoritarily in the Dartford constituency. It's as a whole mixture of open mosaic habitats, which is why it's so important for invertebrates in particular, but it also includes a lot of marshland and grazing land, and it's also a very important site for birds. You've got nightingales there, as well as a fantastic array of invertebrates, but it's the invertebrates that it's particularly important for.
Yeah, and one of them, just because of the name of this spider, we should say these marshes, the distinguished jumping spider. So tell us about that for a start. It's got a great name, but is it a rarity? What's the score around that?
The distinguished jumping spider is probably one of the rarest spiders in the United Kingdom. It is found on only 2 sites. One of them is Swanscombe Marshes. The other one is West Thurrock Marshes, which is on the other side of the River Thames. More or less, if you went across the pylons that run across there, and maybe spiders you'd get to West Thurrock Marshes. And that's a site that was heavily built on recently, and we've managed to save perhaps 20 hectares of it as a wildlife reserve. And this is the only other site in the whole of the United Kingdom where this particular spider can be found.
Right, and I mean, clearly that in itself is important, but let's talk about, you mentioned birds, we know marsh harrier, cocoon, nightingale, various things, but this is Buglife, so let's talk bugs. As well as the spider, what other inverts are there and, of what importance?
Well, this site is probably got the finest array of invertebrates in the whole of the United Kingdom. It's definitely the best brownfield site within England. There are somewhere in the region of 2,500 species of invertebrate can be found on the site, and that includes 250 of them which would be on a red list for being endangered. And it ranges from things like the fantastic distinguished jumping spider, but there's also a lot of our very rare bees will be found there. Things like the sea aster mining bee, the brown banded carder bee. It's quite possible that the shrill carder bee is found there. There are also 2 other very rare spiders on this site. It is absolutely chock-a-block with really rare invertebrates. There is no other site that we are aware of in the whole of the United Kingdom that has so many rare and endangered invertebrates on it. This is one of the reasons why that site has been mapped as being one of the important invertebrate areas across the whole of the United Kingdom. It is also a site that is slap bang in the middle of one of the bee lines for putting connectivity there for our bees to move around the countryside. It is incredibly important.
So it is incredibly important. Is it a triple SI?
It isn't at the moment. We are actually petitioning Natural England, and we are in the throes of getting on board the Wildlife Trust, RSPB, Plant Life, and a number of other organisations, because there's lots of other rare stuff on the site as well as invertebrates, to put a petition to Natural England to say this site needs to be designated as a triple SI, and it's a priority to get it done before anything happens on there.
Yeah, so from what you've described, I mean, this is one of the primary sites for inverts in Europe, never mind just in the UK. And it begs the question, how has a developer managed to get any approval whatsoever to start thinking about developing on there? So can you tell us, first of all, who it is? And then, because when I saw it, I was astounded by what they're actually building on there. But can you tell us who it is and what they're planning to build there?
So they are planning to, it's called London Resorts, and they're planning to build a theme park there. Now, originally they were in partnership with, I think it was Paramount, and Paramount dropped out of it. And then we heard the BBC and ITV were involved in it, and now they've pulled out of it. So we're not really sure who exactly is behind it. But the idea is it's going to be another theme park. So it's going to be like, just down the road there's Thorpe Park, isn't there? And just down the road there is Legoland. So there's already a load of theme parks in that area, but that is what they are looking to build on that particular site, yet another theme park. It kind of beggars belief why we need one basically just off the M25 orbital, so close to all those other theme parks.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And do you know how far along this is? You know, what has there been any, because clearly they need to sort of go through a series of natural surveys of the area. Do you know how far along that is?
Well, at the moment, the potential developer is carrying out a public consultation and gathering people's views on it. But and we are astounded that they're doing this. They're basically putting it forward as a national infrastructure project, which means they don't have to get local planning permission from the council. It will go straight to the ministries to decide. And first of all, they decide if it is a national infrastructure project, which we believe they're going to say yes, because past precedent means that it will get away with being one, even though it's a theme park. And the other amazing thing about it is that they are including in this compulsory purchase of a small industrial estate within the area, which the local businesses aren't very pleased about either. So it's not just about its effect on wildlife, it's also going to be affecting local businesses. And how you can build a theme park with compulsory purchase beggars belief. And it's, in many ways, it's a major test case for this new approach by the current government to allow and enable building for economic benefit everywhere. So it will go to the minister will then draw up a timetable, and it will then be a minister who decides on what happens. And that's why we really need the public behind this. We have to show the minister and the government that the public do not want us to destroy our best wildlife sites for spurious economic gain.
Yeah, it does beg a belief. When I read the petition, it was bad enough, but hearing it now from you, it's almost laughable. It's almost sort of yes minister comedy type stuff. It's just crazy. So how far is it along? What deadlines are we looking at here? Because clearly you've got a petition up. It's been signed by nearly I've got it live here, and it's been signed by nearly 8,000 people. You were looking for 8,000 people. Clearly, I think it can get more than that, especially with the help here. And if we try and get the likes of Chris Packham and people like that involved. What's your deadline on it? What timescales are you up against?
Our belief is that they will put the request into the minister to be an NSIP at some point in November. At that point, the minister has 28 working days to respond, which basically means sometime around Christmas time, the minister will respond and will set out a timetable for consultation on the site. So it's likely a decision is going to happen in March. we really need people on board by this date in November when it goes into the minister to be an NISP. And for that decision to be made, to show that there's a mass public concern around this. And obviously there'll be further things that need to be done. There is still a period to respond to the developer at the moment until the end of the 21st. So it's literally a few days from now. People can respond to the developer to what they're saying. If you go to Buglife's website, we have got a standard response to them about how important this site is for wildlife. And we would encourage people to do that. What effect it's going to have, we don't know, but at least those responses are going in there, putting the pressure on the developer themselves.
Right. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll make sure that the links, appropriate links, are below. In fact, it would be really good if you could send me them. Then I know I'm putting the right links so that people can get straight there and do this. Because this, you know, I have to say, when I saw this yesterday, you know, this is critical. This is not something that we can afford to sit back on. You know, there are obviously various other campaigns as well. But having heard what you said now about just how important it is for inverts. I mean, I didn't get that completely from I knew it was important. Having heard you say that now, you know, it's critical that, you know, we get as many people signing this as possible. So, you know, plea from me, and sure it'll be echoed by yourself. You know, if you're watching this video, you know, please don't only sign the petition, get other people signing the petition. We can't let this happen. It's a ridiculous scenario, and we need to stamp it out, and we need to stamp it out sooner rather than later. So yeah, I think, you know, what I want to do is I want to wrap it up there, unless you've got something else you want to add to that, because I think we've got the key message across, and, you know, hopefully, you know, people will pick up from what you said there, and they will go and they will sign the petition. But is there anything else that can be done? You said about your website, there's, you know, things like writing to local MPs and stuff like that. Is the stuff like that on your website?
There will be. At the moment, we're asking people to write to the developer. After the 21st, we'll be changing the asks that go on there. So we will be keeping updated with what we need people to do. And it is absolutely vitally important. We did a project where we looked at the most important sites for invertebrates in the Thames Gateway. 5 years on from doing that, we looked at it again, and over 50% of those sites had disappeared already. This is continuing. Only last year, we lost a campaign to try and stop the expansion of Tilbury Port onto probably the second most important site for invertebrates in this whole country. And now the most important site is under threat. It has got to stop. We are facing a crisis of extinction. We have got to say no insectinction to the public. We have got to say it to the government. We have got to stop destroying wildlife. Surely what we have been through with this COVID emergency should teach us we need to respect wildlife. It's far, far more important than everything else. So let's make a change. Let's do something. Sign that petition and follow all the other actions that will come. We will keep our website updated as time goes on. We will be lobbying different people through it with up-to-date information, and we will also be responding to anyone who signed the petition and allows us to contact them by doing it with what the next steps are.
Excellent. And clearly, you know, as Talk Wildlife, if you need any support on that, you know where I am. You know, we'll push it as much as we can. But for now, thank you ever so much for your time. And what I'll do is I'll get this video up now, and we'll start talking to people. And please, 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 this petition has got to be signed. The more people that sign it, the better. You know, let's go for the 100,000. Let's go for the 200,000. Let's send a clear message back to the government and to Natural England, you know, that we're not going to allow this to happen. So for now, Paul, thanks ever so much for your time. Your dog's just woken up. Thanks ever so much for your time, and, you know, good luck with the campaign, and stay in touch.
Thank you for talking to me today.
Thanks a lot, Paul.
Cheers.
Bye now.